Hello there, friends. Welcome back to another edition of the Bill Houston podcast. I would really appreciate it if somebody that's watching could let me know in the chat if everything sounds okay. Does the audio sound okay? Does the audio sound okay? All right, so I'm seeing a delay, so you're not going to hear that for a few seconds after I say it, but if you can just let me know how it sounds. Just do an audio check. I can do it like this. Okay, so it looks like the audio is going okay. Wow! How many of you all heard the Endicott Village Mayor and Trustee Chapman on WNBF this morning on Bob Joseph? Wow-wee! Hats off to Bob Joseph, by the way. Man, you do a really great job with interviewing. You make everybody feel comfortable, and you get everybody on, and all sides. So I really appreciate your interview style, Bob, and the fact that you're doing this great public service, and you have for so many years. So hats off to Bob. So first of all, I would like to say, Jason. Hi, Jason. So you heard, I guess you're saying you did hear the show. Okay. What'd you think what'd you think of what you heard this morning, Jason from Bing? I was pretty disturbed. Because I heard, it's a little, I hesitate ever, calling anybody a liar. Because to tell to accuse somebody of lying, you have to be able to demonstrate that you know somebody's intent. And I don't really know somebody's intent. So, it's a little bit provocative to make the title as I did. But it is provocative. I want to be provocative a little bit, and I want to get people to watch this. So what we definitely heard was outrageous false information. That's what we do know. We don't know if the mayor was actually lying or not, but she either was lying or she doesn't know what she's talking about. One of the two. So either one of those is equally bad, because if, being the mayor, she should know what she's talking about. She should know what this facility is and the nature of it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to play bits of this WNBF broadcast as we go. And we're going to do some commentary. But I want you to actually hear in her own words what the mayor actually said. What the mayor actually said on the radio with Bob Joseph. So let me give you a... okay, there's the picture. So now let's listen a little bit, and I'm probably going to stop it and make some commentary from time to time. So when she says really outrageous things. So I hope this plays okay. Let me just check to see if the audio is going to work.
News Radio 1290 WNBF.
Thursday morning, live and local. I'm Bob Joseph at News Radio 1290. We're joined now by Endicott Mayor Linda Jackson.
Of the show.
Mayor Jackson, what is going to be happening next week with respect to the proposal for the lithium-ion battery recycling facility?
Well, actually, Bob, I'm so glad that you allowed me to call in, because so many people are terribly confused, and people are really stressed out with this time anyway with the virus. So they didn't need this extra stress, so I appreciate you letting me explain. On Monday, April 20th at 7, that's this Monday night, the Village Board is having a virtual public hearing.
So she said that people are confused. So we're gonna listen to what she said, and what she said on the radio, and then we're gonna try to figure out why people are confused. Okay, I agree with you. People are confused. People are ignorant and confused. Ignorant means they just don't know. There's lots and lots of people in Endicott that have no idea what's going on, no idea, and what the impacts are going to be.
This Zoom, it's all new to me, but it's how we have to do things. This information on the hearing and how to get onto Zoom to participate was published in the Press and Sun Bulletin on Friday, April 10th, and we're also going to be posting directions on our village website closer to the hearing, so anybody who wants to get on. Now, there's been a lot of confusion what this hearing is about. We are adding strict guidelines for our recycling in our industrial zoning code. Recycling's been allowed on this property since IBM had crash and bash more than 20 years ago. This company does not need any village approval. We are not approving this company in any way. The property's already zoned for it. This is a private company.
So we just have to, I have to play that back, because that's really critical right there, what she just said. So I'm going to go backwards. I have to find out where it is. Where's my marker?
And anybody who wants engineering consultant, our own wastewater man, and a lot of...
Hold on. Bear with me one second, friends. This is the first time I'm doing something like this.
Village regarding contamination, the DEC asked to do a more intense air quality in our industrial zoning. Be posting directions on our village website closer to the hearing, so anybody who wants to get on. Now, there's been a lot of confusion what this hearing is about. We are adding strict guidelines for our recycling in our industrial zoning code. Recycling's been allowed on this property since I
have to hear what she says right there.
participate was published in the Press and Sun Bulletin on Friday, April 10th, and we're also going to be posting directions on our village website closer to the hearing, so anybody who wants to get on. Now, there's been a lot of confusion what this hearing is about. We are adding strict guidelines for recycling in our industrial zoning. We are adding strict guidelines for recycling in our industrial zoning code.
Okay, that is untrue. They're not adding strict guidelines in their industrial zoning code. What they're doing is an incinerator right now is, or even a recycling facility, whatever you want to call it, is a prohibited land use right now in our zoning laws. And zoning is police powers. I have to keep repeating this. Zoning is to protect the health, safety, and well-being of the citizenry, okay? Zoning is for our protection. They are removing the zoning barrier to this facility. They think they are. There's actually some problems with the way they're going to do it, because they're saying they're going to permit a recycling facility, and then she says it's not an incinerator. Okay, so if it's not an incinerator, she's telling people, we're going to hear her say this later on coming up. Okay, so anyway, so I want to get through this, but I just wanted to comment really quickly that she's saying we are. Let's hear it again.
There's been a lot of confusion what this hearing is about. We are adding strict guidelines for recycling in our industrial zoning code.
They are not adding strict guidelines in their industrial zoning code. That's wrong. That's wrong. What they're doing is they are making a recycling, quote-unquote, recycling facility. They're not calling it an incinerator, even though that's what it is, and I'm going to show you that it is. That, they're eliminating the zoning problem, okay? So just letting you know that's not true. Let's continue.
Recycling's been allowed on this property since IBM had Crash and Bash more than 20 years ago. This company does not need any village.
The Crash and Bash that's done by Geodis is basically just disassembly and pulling out metals and things that are useful. There's no smelter, there's no incinerator, there's no high temperature kiln, no afterburner, nothing like that. They're not burning materials at Geodis.
Does not need any village approval.
Okay, wait.
This company does not need any village approval.
That's another wrong statement. It's a false statement. The mayor is making false statements to the village. She says,
this company does not need any village approval. This company does not need any village approval.
Yes, they do. They need, it's called zoning. And once again, they're getting rid of the zoning.
Approving this company in any way. We are not approving this company in any way.
Yes, they are, because the company wouldn't be able to come here if they didn't change the zoning. They're changing the zoning. The mayor, Linda Jackson, Trustee Cheryl Chapman, and Trustee Eileen Konechny. They're changing the zoning to allow this facility to come in.
The property's already zoned for it.
The property's already zoned industrial, but an incinerator is not a permitted land use. By the way, the zoning change, from what I understand, I haven't actually seen the text of it yet, but they're changing the zoning in such a way that they don't even require a special permit. They're not going to require special permits. In other words, if another company wants to come and put an incinerator in here, they're going to be able to do it without even getting a special permit. They don't even have to approach the planning board. They just go in, they just find a suitable property in an industrial zone and put in another incinerator. So this is going to be, potentially, this is the foot in the door. They want to turn Endicott into the waste treatment disposal center of North America, especially for these batteries.
The property's already zoned for it. This is a private company moving into a private property, and they could have started this process back in December because of the history with the village. Could have started this process back in December.
No, they could not have, because that's like terribly wrong. First of all, the permit wasn't issued until March 30th, so they couldn't have started back. I don't know what she's talking about, that starting it in December, okay? Because they just got the permit at the end of March. The next thing was they had to change the zoning to make it happen. The DEC said there wasn't any problem with zoning, so the DEC committed a felony. It's called felony fraud. I'm going to look up the code here in just a second, but I'm just letting you know that that's felony fraud when an official officer of the DEC lies or tells something that's wrong on an official document.
December, because of the history with the village regarding contamination, the DEC asked to do a more intense air quality test, and the company agreed.
They're not doing a test. They're not doing a test. They bumped it up from a registration, which is like the absolute lowest level of review, to something called an ASF, Air State Facility Permit, which means they have to fill out a couple extra pages of paperwork.
The DEC asked to do a more intense air quality test, and the company agreed.
No, they didn't. The DEC isn't doing any testing. They might do one test once the facility gets going, but they're not doing a baseline ambient air test.
But this wasn't required, this second test. Deputy...
Second test? Call the mayor up and ask her details about these two tests. That's wrong. They're not doing two tests. She's just making the stuff up, or she's lying, or she's the one that's confused. She's saying we're confused. She's the one that's confused.
Deputy Mayor Chapman and I have done a lot of investigating because, of course, we weren't for this in the beginning.
Yeah, because they told both of them. I had several conversations with both of them, and they had me utterly convinced that they were against it.
And we didn't go on just the internet or read the papers regarding the company. We personally went out and found independent experts who actually are physically working in their respective fields. They have actual hands-on experience dealing with this. And later on I'll do a press conference and give all the...
We don't need an expert to tell us that dioxin is poisonous, that hexavalent chromium is poisonous, that sulfur dioxide is poisonous, that formaldehyde is poisonous, causes cancer.
Give all the people, and if people want to know who they are, these people actually were willing to come and talk. Now, there's a chemistry professor called me a couple days ago, and I'm sure he's very intelligent, but
I'm sure he's very intelligent. Yeah, we're going to hear from him coming up.
Very intelligent, but I could not have explained to him about an incinerator. He's a little confused. Explained to him about an incinerator. He's a little confused. Could not have explained to him about an incinerator. Intelligent, but I could, and I'm sure he's very days ago, and called me a couple days.
I'm going to start that over from the beginning.
Called me a couple days. Chief professor called me a couple days ago, and I'm sure he's very intelligent, but I could not have explained to him about an incinerator. He's a little confused.
Now, are you talking about Paul Connett?
Paul Connett is an internationally recognized expert on incinerators. He's an internationally recognized expert, so he's not confused. He knows exactly what he's talking about. Hey, Jason from Bing, I just want to let you know that I'm looking at the time here. And no, I take it back. I'll probably take some phone calls a little bit later in the show. So if you hang in there, Jason, I'll set up the number.
I don't remember his name, and I
because
don't
if it's Paul Connett, by the way, I mean he's actually planning. Paul Connett called yesterday on the program, and he only talked for a minute or two. But just so you know, he is planning to call in at 10:30 today because he wants to talk about some of his concerns. I told him yesterday. I said because of.
Listen to how she's talking over top of him. Oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, sure. Yeah. She's just like, she sounds very nervous to me. That sounds like nervousness. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of how she sounds right there? She's just like talking over top.
Because some of his concerns are technical. I didn't think doing it in a 3-minute phone call would do it justice, but he will be on next hour at 10:30, just
FYI.
FYI.
Very nice.
So she's just yammering over top while Bob is talking.
Hour at 10:30, just
He was
FYI.
a very nice man. He was a very nice man, but I got my information on it's not an incinerator.
There we go. Listen.
It's not an incinerator. It's not an incinerator. It's not an incinerator. It's not an incinerator.
Okay. So I'm going to pause the tape right now, and I'm going to show you something here. So let's go to this one. So this is a letter that was issued from the EPA. There was lots of discussion back and forth between the DEC and the EPA on this issue. And so there is a particular kind of regulatory classification called a CISWE, a commercial and industrial solid waste incineration unit. So this engineer at the DEC wrote to the EPA and informed the applicant that he's like, this looks like a CISWE. It's a particular kind of incinerator, and it would garner certain regulation under the EPA as an incinerator. Okay, so lots of letters, emails going back and forth. Finally, this letter was issued by somebody at the EPA, Region 2, and I just want to show you. Let's just cut to the chase here. So let me just show you right up here. Determination for this. Commercial and industrial solid waste incineration unit. Can you see that? Can you see that? Do you want to see it in context? It's a little bit tricky for me right now. I gotta keep on moving these windows around. So this is, let's read the whole thing starting here. This is the response to an April 1, 2019 email communication to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Here's where we are. Regarding an applicability determination for the SMCC lithium-ion battery recycling facility in Endicott, New York, relative to 40 CFR Part 60, Subpart CCCC. Standards for performance of, here it is, commercial and industrial solid waste incineration units. So, what did the mayor say? Let's hear what the mayor said.
It's not an incinerator. It's not an incinerator. It's not an incinerator.
Okay, so basically the DEC asked the EPA to say, is this thing a CISWE, a commercial and industrial solid waste incineration unit? So let's go to the end. Let me highlight it. So here we go. So let me just look at my other window here. This leads us to believe that the SMCC rotary kiln dryer meets the definition of a CISWE unit. This leads us to believe that the SMCC rotary kiln meets the definition of a commercial and industrial solid waste incineration unit. That's the EPA talking. Okay? So you're going to believe, and let's get the guy's name. This is Robert Buettner, Chief, Air Compliance Branch, Enforcement and Compliance Assurance Division of the Region 2 of the EPA. So who are you going to believe? You're going to believe Robert Buettner of the EPA, or are you going to believe Mayor Linda Jackson when she says,
it's not an incinerator?
Because the EPA says it is. Now let's look at one other document. Let's come over here. So this is go up to the top of this one. And Barclay Damon is a law firm that was hired by the applicant to represent them in these matters before the DEC. And this is a letter that I got under FOIL. And by the way, you can get all of these documents if you go to tinyurl.com/Endicott Battery Incinerator, and the link is in the chat. I posted the link in the chat, so you can get all these documents and you can look them over yourself. Okay, so proposed universal waste destination facility and universal waste handling facility. You hear how vague that is? First of all, universal waste, if you look up the definition, is hazardous waste. It's hazardous waste. Universal waste is hazardous waste. So when they're saying a proposed universal waste destination facility and universal waste handling facility, first of all, they call it two different facilities because they're, once again, trying to escape regulation. This is the applicant trying to escape regulation. And this is a really great letter to read. I encourage you to get this letter and look it up and read it. Go to tinyurl.com/Endicott Battery Incinerator. Download the folder BH Foil number 1. You're going to find this document here. And you're going to see how this attorney was saying we're going to go out of our way not to be regulated as under a new, let me just show you here. I think I have it highlighted. I think they said onerous. I'm just looking for this conclusion. Okay, the regulatory scheme. This is where it is. Okay. It is crucial. Here's the key right here. Here's the key right here. It is crucial. Do you see where I'm at? Can you? Okay, you can see that. It is crucial to the economic viability of the facility to avoid the onerous TSDF regulatory scheme by meeting the exemption contained in 6 NYRCIR, blah, blah, blah. This states in part that the recycling of hazardous wastes is exempt from Part 373 permit regulations. So there's this under New York state law. So they escaped regulation as a SISWI by the EPA. If you read that whole letter, they would say that even though it meets the definition of a SISWI, a commercial and industrial solid waste incineration unit, it's avoiding the regulation as such because of an exemption in the law. Okay. Now let's look at this. Under New York, we have a similar regulation. This is the strict regulation. Remember she's talking about we're adding this stuff to strictly regulate? It's BS. They're trying to avoid strict regulation. They're jumping through hoops to avoid strict regulation. So basically it's talking about the New York regulations, talk about this thing called a hazardous waste. Do you see the word hazardous on the screen? Hazardous waste. There it is. Let me make it yellow so you can see it really good. Hazardous waste. There it is. It's a hazardous, subject to permitting as a hazardous waste treatment, storage, and disposal facility. Okay? So that's the discussion. So now here's what the attorney says. It is crucial to the economic viability of the facility to avoid the onerous TSDF regulatory scheme by meeting the exemption contained in 6 NYI. So that's the thing. There's an exemption defined, and they're jumping through hoops, including creating two different business entities and in two different buildings and locating them on adjacent properties. It's all on here on campus. But anyway, they're jumping through hoops. So there's just two examples. My whole point with that is just to show you two examples of comments by either the applicant themselves or the EPA or the DEC, and there's quite a few other examples through these records. If you search for it, if you download the documents and search for it, you're going to find a lot of other examples where they mention that this is an incineration unit, whereas the mayor says
it's not an incinerator.
It's not an incinerator. Okay, let's continue. Let me just check the chat really quick. We got 3 viewers. That's great. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. Give me some love here if you appreciate the work that I do.
From a GE aviation expert, design engineer, he's working right now designing engines for airplanes. He does it for a living, and he especially knows about heat effects.
She's talking about the consultant that they hired.
Effects on the engines and what it's given off. So I want people to know that I really went out and found people physically in the field. And as far as and another consultant we got was a chemical.
So, and once again, she is dismissing the credentials of Dr. Paul Connett, who, once again, he travels all over the world and lectures about the harms of incinerators. Okay, that's Dr. Paul Connett. We're going to hear from him coming up.
And another consultant we got was a chemical engineer who worked for the DEC. He left the DEC to sue IBM over this chemical.
Yeah, that's Frank Roma, the notorious environmentalist. He was head of an environmental organization for many years, but he's pro-industry, and he's pro-industrial polluters. So the industry loves consulting with Frank Roma because he's one of these head-bobbing assenters. There's no polluter that he doesn't like, even if they commit felonies like the DEC, in order to push their dangerous toxic facility in during a pandemic. During a pandemic. This isn't Bill being hyperbolic. This is the reality. This is what they're doing. Governor Cuomo. This is a complete Governor Cuomo shebang. This whole thing is Governor Cuomo. It's his slush fund, which is the Empire State Development Corporation, which is funding this thing. It came up with all this cash that they're trying to entice it with. So this goes all the way up to the top. There's a lot of money and influence involved in this thing.
Bill, and for the last 17 years, he has still been monitoring it. That's how much he cares about Endicott. Now.
And Frank Roma, by the way, loved leachate. He loved the processing of leachate, even though, they were dumping, they bring in all this nasty goo, last stop Endicott. They do a few very gross bulk processes, and then they take whatever's left over and dump it into the Susquehanna River, right just north of the Endicott primary drinking water well. Good thinking, huh?
And he said he was at this meeting we had with the battery company, Sunjeel, and he asked many questions.
Ooh, boy. He asked a lot of questions.
And was very satisfied with their answers.
Oh, very, very satisfied, because he's pro-industry.
He said this company is safer than living next door to a gas station.
It's hard to compare those two. Because they're both dangerous, but a gas station isn't going to produce a fire that you can't put out. You can put out gasoline fires. You cannot put out lithium battery fires.
Station. Now, a group of state and county local officials and consultants were at this meeting with Sunjeel, but before I could assemble
Okay, let me just tell you really quick who was at that meeting, because a little bird gave me the sign-in sheet. Told me who was on the sign-in sheet. So we got Dan Schofield. We got who is let's hear Town of Union. I thought is Dan Schofield. What's he doing these days? What's Dan doing these days? Let me just make sure that I know. I thought he was kind of retired, but I could be wrong. Town of Union. Deputy Commissioner of Environmental Services. Look at that. All right. A sewer. So he's some kind of like he's the sewer commissioner, I guess, for the Town of Union. That's Dan Schofield. So he was at that meeting. Who else was at that meeting? Tom Fusillo. Tom Fusillo wrote that letter I just showed you from Barclay Damon. There was Cheryl Trapman. She's a village trustee. Mayor was there. A lawyer from Coughlin and Gerhardt. Anthony Bates, who's the Endicott village manager. Somebody from Sunjeel, Korea. We got this Danish Mir. Chris Pelto, who is the CEO of Huron Campus over there. We got Brenda Grover from New York State Empire State Development Corporation, and I hear she works at Fred Akshar's office. We got Paul Yum, another Sunjeel guy from Korea. The name was read off wrong. I think this is Dale Vollmer from Plumley Engineering. I'm going to write that in. Dale Vollmer. Phil Grayson. I'm not sure why Phil Grayson was there, but because he's a wastewater engineer too. So we had two wastewater guys. We had Phil Grayson from Endicott, and we had Dan Schofield from Town Union. But this thing isn't supposed to produce any wastewater. Why did they have two wastewater guys there? That's interesting. My theory is, keep this in mind. If you've watched the prior videos, my theory is that they're going to be doing the solvent extraction process. Because right now, after they incinerate the materials, they send it off to Korea for this process called solvent extraction, where they pull out the cobalt, they pull out the nickel, they pull out the materials that are useful. There's just a few that are useful it's economic to try to recover these materials. So what I think they're doing is they're planning on doing the entire process here, which is going to produce wastewater. Maybe that's why the wastewater guys were showing up.
Before I could assemble a real information meeting.
Yeah, well, we didn't need an information meeting. We needed a public hearing from the DEC with a stenographer and to record official comments. That's what we were asking for, and we didn't get diddly.
Could hear all these experts, consultants, and everything.
In other words, a dog and pony show. We already got a dog and pony show. We got one of those from the applicant, back in November, I think it was.
Could hear all these experts, consultants, and everything, not just from the company this virus hit. And I want to have a real meeting. People don't like these virtual meetings.
You're right. So why are you changing the zoning during a pandemic then? If you agree that people don't like these Zoom hearings, you're deliberately doing this to prevent public participation.
Especially those of us who are older, and it's hard for me to get it on the computer. So after this whole thing is over with, I want to have a real meeting just so people will know what's going on. And
we're not going to learn what's going on from listening to this person because she's giving out bogus information.
This meeting would not make a difference. This meeting would not make a difference.
You're right. It's a dog and pony show. She's admitting it's a dog and pony show. Hit the like button if you haven't already, please.
This company's coming. We have no say in it.
Okay, wait. This is important.
This company's coming. We have no say in it. This company's coming. We have no say in it. This company's coming. We have no say in it.
That's a lie.
This company's coming. We have no say in it.
This company would not be able to come if the Endicott Village Board did not take proactive measures. And there's two things that they had to do. Number one, they had to fix the zoning, and that's what they're doing. Because the DEC lied. The DEC said there was no material conflict with the local zoning and land use, and there is. There is. In October of last year, the DEC said there's no material conflict in zoning. That was in the notice of completed application. They also said that a coordinated review had been done. It hadn't been done. Endicott just ordered it. So there's two things that they had to do. They had to order the 230. They had to complete the 239 review, which is the county level review of different agencies. And then the next thing is they had to fix the zoning because or block it or just leave the zoning as it is and block the facility. That's what I would think would be logical. She's a Republican, keep in mind. And here we have the Democrat governor shoving this facility, breaking the law, committing felony forgery to issue this permit during a pandemic. And rather than suing the DEC over it, the village is playing cover-up. The village officials are playing cover-up.
Well, one thing...
But we did...
one thing that people point out, yes, it's a
Sure.
private enterprise, but there is public money involved. Nearly at least almost $2 million in state money
Good, Bob.
was announced for this project. So that's one reason why I think people think that there ought to be a higher level of oversight for a project that basically was announced with the support of Governor Cuomo's administration. Empire State Development and Governor Cuomo effectively are pushing this project, and so I know some people on the north side, some people on Roble Avenue, are worried that because this has the state support, the state money behind it, that the fix was in. I mean, that's what some people have told me.
God bless you, Bob Joseph. Man, oh man, he gets it. Bob Joseph has been around. He understands how things work, and he gets it. God bless you. Tip of the hat to you, Bob Joseph. Good job.
Oh, well, that's how I felt at first, too. To tell you the truth, I'm thrilled to pieces that we're getting some of that millions of dollars instead of going to Rochester or Buffalo.
Why? For, a handful of minimum wage crash and bash jobs, dirty and dangerous crash and bash jobs? That's why, we're going to suffer cancer-causing chemicals put into our air?
That's my point on the money. But I was skeptical first. That's why we went so far out of our way.
They went out of their way.
I actually argued with our senator and our Broome County executive, and I don't mean to give them any disrespect, but I told them that until I'm happy with my information, I will not back it.
So listen to what she's saying. Fred Akshar and Jason Garner, that's who's pushing this thing on behalf of Governor Cuomo. Fred Akshar, another Republican. This is a bipartisan screw job that they're giving to the village of Endicott. Bipartisan screw job.
So I made sure I got my private information, because you can't believe the DEC for what you just said. And I didn't believe the company because I did not know them. I had to go out and find people that weren't going to make any money off of this, because that's where real answers are. Like they say, follow the money, follow where it isn't to get your answers. And we taped this meeting we had with Sunjeel, and all the questions and answers from people like our consultant, a chemical engineering consultant, our own wastewater man, and a lot of other real experts. And anybody who wants to hear the tape, we can get it for them, because I think people would like to know the facts.
Yeah, I want a copy of the tape. I want to hear the tape. So I'm going to do a FOIL request. Our
own trustees, though, we have a couple trustees who never bothered to listen to the tape, and now they're whining they don't have all the facts. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm 69 years old. I can't be babysitting everybody anymore. I've done my babysitting. Now,
so what is well? Here's my question. So we'll call it a virtual public hearing, because it's got to be done by Zoom Monday night.
Yeah,
so
right.
with public comment, so people, will they be able? Do they have to sign up in advance to give a comment?
Well, no. What they have to do is they have to go on, and they have to put an app on their computer, or they can use their phone, especially if they don't.
There's a problem. Put an app on your computer. This is a Chinese company. Most of the development of this comes from China. Wait a minute. What is China? You mean where the virus came from? So suddenly everybody in America is quarantined because of this Chinese virus. This virus that supposedly came from China, right? And now everybody's using Zoom, where they have to download an app that installs on your computer, and most Windows applications, get things installed with basically complete ownership of the entire computer. It's basically a root. It's called a rootkit. So you download Zoom, these Chinese people are going to own your computer. That's what's going to happen. So I don't want to download any Zoom app. I mean, I can do a live stream to Facebook and to Google or to YouTube without downloading any app. Why do I have to download an app? And if you Google for Zoom conference security issue, you're going to find a lot of people talking about security problems and routing to Chinese servers and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Don't have a speakers for their computer, and they can dial in and then they can speak, and everyone will have a chance to be spoken. The administrator of the Zoom, I just learned this last week, is going to be our village manager, because I'm not too good with computers, and he will give everyone a chance to speak. What we're voting on is we want to have strict guidelines for recycling in the Huron campus, because we don't have them right now. That's what we're voting on. And people can call in and say anything they want. They can call in and give us their concerns about the company. They can say anything they would like to say. It's not a problem, but that's what we're voting on. We're voting on putting in strict guidelines.
No, that's not true. They're voting on doing away with the zoning restriction that prevents this Endicott, this facility being sited in Endicott. They're doing away with the zoning.
We're voting on putting in strict guidelines.
They're not voting and putting in strict guidelines. That's wrong. That's wrong. She's gaslighting you.
We're voting on putting in strict guidelines for recycling in our industrial zoned area.
So will the board vote then on Monday night after the public hearing?
We can, yes, we can vote.
Do you
actually.
expect the vote will happen Monday night?
Yes, definitely. Oh, yes. Now, legally, one of our other trustees can hold it over, and then the vote will happen on May 4th. So either way, it'll happen, and it will be passed, because the three of us, both Eileen and Cheryl and I, have really worked hard on making sure that this is the only thing we can do to safeguard our company. We had to do something. We couldn't just sit around and complain about it, because we knew we couldn't stop it. This was the only thing we could do to safeguard, to make sure we had some say in how strict our guidelines are for this recycling of anything. And recycling is the responsible way to go. One man sent me an article from a newspaper, a car newspaper, and said that they're worried that these recycling batteries from these electric cars are going to end up in the landfill, and we'll have another Taylor garbage somewhere, fire. Recycling is responsible. We need more recycling plants, because these batteries are a way of the future. It's not just
and that's another thing, though, just to clarify, because there was that fire at the Taylor recycling plant in Appalachian in January, and they said that was possibly caused by a lithium-ion battery, although I don't know, we'll ever know for sure. But with that in mind, people obviously were concerned.
I'm sorry, I have to try to do something here. This stupid on-hold music. I can't shut it off. How can I mute this? I'm very sorry about this. Give me 1 second here. That is totally annoying. Okay, I'm trying to set up the live call-in for you. Who was the guy? Jason from Bing. I'll tell you what. Let me just put this up on the screen right now. Jason from Bing. If you just want to call in. Where is the... Give me 1 second. This is live TV, baby. Live TV. Live television. Hit the like button, and please subscribe to the Bill Houston podcast on YouTube, because if you do subscribe, then you're going to get a notification. You're going to get a notification whenever I go live. So that's what I would recommend. Please just subscribe, and that's going to make things a lot simpler. So I can't really talk and do this at the same time. So if I go silent here for a minute, I'm just going to work on getting the call-in working. So stand by 1 second, please. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Stand by. let me know how you're doing in the chat. If anybody has any questions in the chat, I will try to read them in a second. Let's do add this. All right, I'm almost there. Okay, so let's do that and that. And one more thing. I just got to do that. Stand by. I'm sorry this is boring when you're going live and the audio drops out and the content just stops for a minute. But if you just bear with me. Okay, I'm just about there. And here's the call-in number. Okay, Jason from Bing. Call-in number is 712-770-4726. 712-770-4726, and the access code is 954763. So there it is. So if you call in right now, I'll put you on and you can make comments as we go. So call in right now, Jason from Bing, and I'm going to do one more thing to set this up. All right. Okay, nobody's on yet. That's okay. Let me just dial in myself.
A star now. Otherwise, please wait.
And I
you will
lose
be
the
joined into
microphone.
the conference.
Oh, I hate that. Okay, so I think I can.
Please announce yourself.
Oh, we must have somebody on. This is Bill Houston. Is that Jason from Bing on there? Oh, wait a second. Is there somebody on? I can see somebody is dialed in. Say hello. Say hello if you're there. Hello, hello. Hello? Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Let me do it like this.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hold on. I can hear you, but I gotta...
I'm on.
Hello, can you hear me now? Hello, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Is that Jason from Bing?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, it is.
That's Jason?
Oh, excellent.
Okay, so I'll tell you what. Just keep talking for a second, Jason. I want to get the level. Say hi.
Okay, sure, no problem. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, you're a little...
So, I just...
keep going.
I'll just keep talking so you can actually adjust your level there.
Okay, I got the level going. So I'm gonna... I got it going now. So I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep on playing, and if you want to jump in as I take breaks, just feel free to comment. Okay. So I'm going back to the mayor now.
Sure.
I'm going to
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going back to the mayor.
Well, obviously, we're concerned. Will there be a giant lithium-ion fire on the Huron campus at Clark and Roble?
Oh, well, I'm glad you gave me an opportunity to explain that. When the batteries come in on the trucks, now there's very strict guidelines through the federal government on what can be trucked on batteries and how they're packaged. It'll come into a separate building that is all cement and cinder block. They will dismount, empty the truck, and immediately discharge these batteries. It's charging your batteries or having charged batteries that are dangerous. Just like you see these things on Facebook where people have their sheets got burnt because they were charging their phone. Charging is when it's dangerous. and a discharge battery is much safer. But we didn't just go with that for fire. They also have heat sensors, infrared, I believe, and a sprinkler system. I also talked at length with our fire department because, hey, let's be honest, they're going to be the ones that have to put out any fires if there is any.
So a couple of things that I wanted to say is that, first of all, those lithium fires you can't put them out. And the next thing is, she said they were in two separate buildings, and one building is right next to a NYSEG substation. So let's see how intelligent that is. I'm just going to turn it over to you for a second, Jason. Do you have any comments on what you've heard so far?
Yeah, I mean, I've been following, this a little bit. I mean, I'm not in Endicott myself. I'm in Bennington, but obviously it affects the entire area. I mean, I suppose, when it comes to facilities like this, I mean, I think you've done a really good job of identifying a lot of the problems, with this facility. My focus a lot of times when I look at things, I always look at where the money's coming from, where the motivation is, and why the hell they actually want to do it, where they want to do it. And, that's, like I said, that's where my focus is. And when you stated there, it's like here we're getting state money coming into the area for like $2 million. And then you've got everybody pretty much bending over backwards to do anything possible to make that, that happen.
Yep.
And there's a little bit of insanity to this. Then I actually have to question from even a business standpoint. I have to put myself in the business of the recycler and ask the question is that what is it in it for me if I was a recycler, and what sort of profitability is there of opening a facility such as what they actually, they're trying to do? And the question is that would they even do this if they weren't getting this massive kickback of $2 million from the Empire State to actually do this? Because for some reason in my mind, I don't even think this is financially viable, without huge government push to actually even put this facility where it actually is going to be. And so, the cronyism and the corruption that is surrounding this, and considering it's they keep saying, well, batteries, green energy, recycling, all these, these words that everybody wants to, they love to hear, because it's very environmental friendly. And then meanwhile, it's just like, they're coating with all this extra money that, just laddered in extreme inefficiency. And like, again, we had to ask the question is why are the hell, I mean, what we do understand though is that there must be a reason too, is that, Endicott was one of the targets where, you've got the campus there. And this is a question I'll have to ask you, is my thought too is the property owners of the place where they're actually putting that, is that currently owned by Endicott, or who actually owns the property that they're actually going to put this facility on?
Well, there was
sort of rental deals, or what?
Yeah, so it was when IBM first backed out of Endicott, the entire campus was turned over to the Maines and the Matthews families. And my understanding is that,
right.
Let me see if I get this right. I think the Matthews took over what at the time was Endicott Interconnect, what became IBM Interconnect. That was the whatever was left over from IBM. And then the actual property was turned over to the Maines family. And so the Maines family is kind of like the landlord now. You can kind of think of them as just basically a landlord.
Okay.
So, but everything else you said was really, really excellent. Excellent points about following the money and about would this thing actually be economically viable without all these handouts? And I don't think it would be, because if you read these permit docs, I don't know if you were listening when I was reading this stuff, but he was saying, the lawyer for the facility was basically saying this isn't going to be economically viable if we have to follow all these regulations. So we want to avoid being regulated.
Right.
So I'm going to go back and play.
This is the point that you made there. Is that, no, sorry.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to go back to Linda, but go ahead and finish your thought there.
Yeah, well, the thing was, is the main point you made about the regulations that I saw is the fact that it was like a a limbo bar, and they had to make sure that they didn't go over the top. The problem is, though, is to make this financially viable, they actually have to go above that bar. And you pretty much just pointed that out. You said, look, there's a regulation here, and they want to go underneath the bar so they can actually get this. But the fact is, to be financially viable, to actually make this a business that actually makes money without all this freaking money coming in, they've got to remove that restriction. And the thing is, though, is that there is no reason to actually have this facility here with, requiring that, because they need to actually have that restriction removed. That's fine. They don't want the restrictions. Fine. They just can't actually put it in the town,
Absolutely.
So that's the difference here.
Absolutely. Great comments, Jason. I just want to say to anybody else that wants to join in on in the live conversation, feel free to dial in 712-770-4726, and there is the access code right there, 954763, and you'll be on live with Jason and I, Jason from Binghamton. So I'm going to go back to the mayor. Let's listen to some more mayor, and then I'll take some breaks and we can comment.
They're going to be the ones that have to put out any fires if there is any, and they have to worry about any chemicals caused by any fires. So it's important that and I had a long talk with them, and they...
What did she say there? Something about any chemicals? Let me go back and play it again.
And they have to worry about any chemicals caused by any fires.
Chemicals caused by any fires?
And they have to worry about any chemicals caused by any fires.
I don't know what she's talking about.
So it's important that and I had a long talk with them, and they said, no, we have investigated it.
Now, Jason, can you actually hear, can you hear Linda speaking when it's playing?
Yes.
You can? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And what they're proposing to do with the sprinkler systems, the infrared, and the extra fire extinguishers is completely safe. All their people are going to take special fire courses. They are also paying for our firemen and EMTs to take special courses at their expense, not the villages.
By the way, hit like. If you're watching this, please hit the like button.
So I'm very confident that all the things they have put into place are going to be safe. And
Jason, was that you?
Yeah. I was asking if you just pause there for a minute, because I just wanted to put in perspective of what you just said there about the fire and the burning and the potential. Now, I don't know what the percentage of risk, of that actually going up in flames, but you got to think of a couple things, here. They've already said how many jobs. Did you tell me how many jobs this was actually supposed to create?
I don't know. It's
off the top of my head.
Maybe 15 or 20.
Yeah, so less than a handful. So basically, we're talking about there's going to be more firefighters having to learn this, skill to actually put this fire out than the actual employees being hired to actually do the process.
Absolutely.
For this facility here. That's pretty much my gist, then.
Absolutely.
And the other question is just like, well, from a perspective of somebody being in that sort of, if somebody was, in that, a firefighter or, in the emergency field, I mean, come on. I mean, you just increased the difficulty of their job, and quite frankly, I would almost demand hazard pay from working in this zone if I was one of those firefighters to cover, the extra risk being put on my back. And then what are we talking about? We're talking about 10 jobs that you're actually trying to create to put extra risk on the fire department within the area. It just doesn't make logical sense, to actually go in through and do that. And
I agree.
You got to ask another question too.
Yep.
Is that what about the other people within the area? What do they feel and what do they think as far as just the general property value, knowing that they actually live right near that facility as well too. I suppose the main finances of the town or city or even the county for that nature comes off our property tax, and if you put a facility like that and drive down property rates, then pretty much that's where the bread and butter revenue comes in. Granted, if you're getting the $2 million, maybe that will offset the entire cost of everything lost, but that's definitely something to consider. But considering she actually was elected by the individuals within the city, maybe she should actually listen to them rather than actually worrying about the money, I suppose. But,
no, it's a good point about property values. In fact, basically we had a property value the IBM, the TCE spill that happened that became people became aware of it in the early 2000s. That really plummeted property values. But the way that they sort of remedied that was they started bringing in, and Donna Lupardo, I've heard, had something to do with this, but they started bringing up people from New York City, Section 8 people, and housing them in Endicott. And they even pay for their relocation and give them, like a free year or something like that up here. That's what I've heard. And so because it's a win-win for the state, because the state pays less money to house somebody in New York City, house somebody in Endicott than in New York City. So that's a win for the state. And then it's also a win for Endicott because it artificially props up the property values, because now all these Section 8 people are moving in and giving the landlord money. So that prevented the bottom from falling out.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. That I have followed that, and I understand that, and there's a massive problem with that entire scenario.
Well, let's not get too. Let's not get.
One of the issues is,
go ahead. I just wanted to say, let's not get too deep into that one issue, because I really want to. I want to stay on the mayor, and I want to try to get through her comments. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Just go on her. Yeah. Just,
Okay.
I'll comment on just what she has to say. Sorry.
Okay, call in this number if you're watching and you want to join the conversation, and also please press the like button and also subscribe. Jason, let me just tell you this, that we're having if you're interested, concerned citizens are getting together. It's going to be at 6 o'clock, and it looks like we're going to be butting right up against it because we got a lot to get through here before then. So if you want to. It's the same call-in number, this strategy call, and we started out 2 days ago with 5 people. Yesterday there were 10 people on the call. So every day we're getting more and more people that are willing to. Most of them are, I think all of them are Endicott Village residents, but you're free to join if you want to learn more about what's going on. But we're trying to strategize and figure out whatever we can do to try to raise the awareness about this and try to see if there's some way we can put the kibosh on this thing. But I'm going back to Linda. Here we go.
Are going to be safe. And I talked to a doctor who is on the board of American Manganese in Toronto, Canada. He physically went up there to look at their recycling plant. He's on their board, and he said that he gave me all the questions to ask when Sanjil came. I asked their questions. They had no idea I had talked to him, and what they were planning is exactly what they're doing up there. South Korea is so far ahead of us in technology that we're very lucky that it's a company that's this advanced coming here. And for another point of reference, we have not found anywhere where there has ever been any accidents in a lithium battery recycling plant that is legitimately put together.
Okay, wait a minute. What did she say? Let's go back.
Recycle.
I got to go back.
Where there has we have not found anywhere where there has ever been any accidents in a lithium battery recycling plant that is legitimately put together.
Now, what I want to say about that is that there's only 3 of these facilities, or only 2 actually, that I've been able to find in the world. One of them is in South Korea, and the other one is in Belgium, a place called Hoboken in Belgium. And those facilities are very, very different than what's being proposed here for Endicott. Mainly the stack height is one of them, because the stack height in those facilities is somewhere between 300 and 500 feet, where ours is 111 feet. And the other thing is, because they're foreign companies, it's not so easy for us to get records, to look through newspaper archives, or to go to the local environmental administrator like DEC or whatever, regulator, and look for records. So that's a specious claim that I would say on behalf of the mayor.
All right, and we're out of time. Yeah, we're out of time for the segment, but I appreciate your time. Keep in touch.
Okay, so any quick comments from you, Jason from Binghamton, about what you've heard? And if not, I'm going to go on and play Cheryl Chapman next, and then we're going to listen to Paul Connett.
Well, one thing is that you're just saying there's only 3 facilities that actually do recycling within the entire world that actually does this processing. Why are there so few? Why don't we do more recycling? Is it just not economically viable to do it? I mean, what's the return on investment, to actually do this sort of process? Do we know that
it's a damn good question, Jason. I don't really have the answer to that. I mean, I can speculate as to why. First of all, these lithium-ion batteries are relatively new. I mean, they're only maybe a decade old. So I mean, in their mass use in everything, in cell phones and in laptops and in, they're very high current batteries, so they're useful in electric cars. So they're relatively new, and they have maybe a 7-year, 10-year lifespan. So right now we are just beginning to get these massive amounts of these lithium-ion batteries that have gone past the end of their life. So I think that's why this is relatively new, is because just now we're getting this massive quantity of this e-waste. It's basically e-waste.
Right.
Okay.
That makes a little more sense, I suppose. What about car batteries? They're not lithium, are they?
Car batteries are what are called lead acid. So they've got
That's right.
anodes and an anode, a
What do I
cathode.
mean for the
Sorry.
for the electric vehicle cars? I know the standard one for your lights. Is it the same for the lights as they are for your standard car versus your a full electric car?
No,
They're lithium.
the electric cars have to use the lithium-ion batteries. They tend to, and the regular car uses a lead acid battery, which is really, really low tech.
Yeah. So that's what I was asking. Is just that the electric cars, whether or not those were the ones they were going to try to recycle on the planet.
Absolutely, and that's another issue that Paul Connett brought up. We'll listen to him in a second. I hope we can get through this before. I really want to try to wrap this stream up in about 1 hour. Like 5:30 is going to be I want to be done by 5:30, but. What Paul brought up is he said that it's variable feedstock. In other words, every batch of batteries, here's a batch from Dell laptops, here's a batch from Tesla electric cars, here's a batch from General Motors electric cars, here's a batch from Dell laptops, Motorola cell phone batteries. Every one of these batteries has a potentially different composition. And all of the basis, everybody's saying, oh, it's so safe, it's so safe. We looked at the numbers. Well, it was all, the basis for all this was off of one single test in Korea that was supplied by the applicant. So the applicant is coming to the DEC and saying, look, this is safe. And the DEC looks at it. They take their check for the permit application. They take the check and they look at it and they go, oh, yes, this does look safe. So there's a big conflict of interest there, and this data that is, in my opinion, of very low quality, where they're claiming that everything is safe because it was only a single measurement and it came from 3,000 miles away or something. Okay, so this is right after the mayor called in. Trustee Cheryl Chapman called in. Let me get her picture on the screen. There's Trustee Cheryl Chapman, but I got to do one more thing. I want to put two things up. I want to add text. So existing, give me 1 second. I want to do the call-in number. There's the call-in number. I'll just leave that one up for right now. So here's Cheryl Chapman. Let's listen to what she had to say on WNBF this morning, because she told a lot of the same erroneous information that the mayor did. Let's listen to Cheryl Chapman.
Cheryl Chapman from Endicott. Well, it's not Binghamton now today. It's Endicott now. What's up?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. And you are the deputy mayor of Endicott. A few minutes ago, we had Mayor Linda Jackson on talking about the proposed facility at the Huron campus. So what do you think about it?
Well, as she stated, that in the beginning we were not for it because we were not educated regarding this facility.
Oh, yeah. So the only people that are against it are the people that aren't educated. All right. You really? Okay.
We were not for it because we were not educated regarding this facility. So what we did is we went out and we found some experts and got their opinions, and now we've changed our mind because we had our questions answered, and it is very safe. But one of the reasons why I was calling is that we've been getting some phone calls from residents on the north side, in which my mother-in-law lives on the north side. I understand the north side residents are confused on what this vote is all about. It's not whether to let this company come in or not. We don't have a say whether this company or a person can move into the village.
Hold on. Let's listen to that one more time.
We don't have a say whether this company or a person can move into the village.
That is absolutely false. Absolutely false. If it requires a zoning change, there's there's no gun to your head, Cheryl Chapman, forcing you to ramrod through a change in our zoning law, which is police powers. You're removing police powers, protections for the citizens during a pandemic. So don't give me this BS that
we don't have a say whether this company or a person can move into the village.
yes, you do. You most certainly do, Cheryl Chapman. So that really annoys me when, I can't call it a lie. I don't know what her intention is, and I don't know what she knows, but I'm pretty sure she knows what's right, and that isn't right. That she knows they have to change the zoning law. So when she says this, she's lying.
We don't have a say whether this company or a person can move into the village. As long as, excuse me.
There's a tell too. When somebody's lying, a lot of times they'll gulp or they'll choke or they'll have a facial tic or something like that. So this is kind of a tell that maybe she's a little uncomfortable with what the bogus BS that she's saying right now.
As long as, excuse me. This is a private company doing business with a private developer. As long as they follow all of the state requirements.
They didn't follow the state requirements.
As long as they follow all of the state requirements and are in the correct zoning, we do not have a say.
Well, an incinerator is a prohibited land use right now in the village of Endicott. Just jump in if you want to say something, Jason.
It's just like having a grocery store. They have to follow state licensors where they have to get licenses from the Food and Drug Administration, the liquor license, tobacco license, and so on. As long as the business follow the state requirements and are in the correct zoning, we don't have a say.
Well, they're not in the correct zoning, and you do have a say. And the other thing was the Village of Endicott just ordered this 239 review, and the DEC lied back in August. October. The DEC lied and said that the 239 review had already been done. The DEC also lied and says there was no material conflict in zoning laws. And then the DEC lied and said this was an unlisted action, and it cannot be an unlisted action if there's a zoning change. It has to be a Type 1 action, which gets us an environmental impact statement and a public hearing. And that's basically the two major asks that I've been asking for this whole time. Any comments, Jason?
Yeah, I thought the DEC, didn't they also say, too, after they made the approval on this, is like, if you, want to sue somebody, don't sue us, because, it's okay, but we're not 100% sure. I mean, that's kind of what I thought I heard somewhere along the line there. Am I wrong on that, or where did I possibly hear that?
I'm trying to I heard something like that, but not about this facility. I did hear where basically I heard something like that recently, and I'm not recalling what that is. It was like they were basically denying liability. So I don't think it was about this particular facility, but I have heard statements similar to that recently. Okay, I'm going to go back to...
I wasn't 100% sure. I thought it was this facility, because they did approval. I think it had something to do with the stack, too, because of the height-wise. And that might have been some of the issue with it. I don't know. Yeah, again, I'm trying to piece everything together. So I guess
me too. We're still trying to put it all together. Okay, I'm going to go back to Cheryl.
But so this company is coming in no matter what we do. But this vote is to vote on adding recycling to our industrial zone. So this gives the village the power to regulate any type of recycling that can go in there. And
no, it does not. That is false. Let's listen to what she said one more time, okay?
So this gives the village recycling.
Wait a minute. Everything she says here is wrong. Listen.
But this vote is to vote on adding recycling to our industrial zone.
Wait, let me go back a little bit more.
This company is coming in no matter what we do.
Wrong. They have to change the zoning. She's repeating the same lies that the village mayor did.
This company is coming in no matter what we do.
Wrong. That is flat out wrong. Then don't do the change in zoning and let's watch them try.
But this vote is to vote on adding recycling to our industrial zone.
So basically, they're removing the prohibition against incinerators. That's what they're doing. And she's using this clever language to make it sound like it's all. But listen to what she says here. Here's what she says that is also very, very wrong. Listen to this.
So this gives the village the power to regulate any type of recycling that can go in there. And
No, it does not. The only thing zoning can do is it can put dangerous activities within certain parts of a village or a municipality, let's say. Zoning will allow you to put dangerous industrial facilities in certain areas or prohibit them. Right now, this particular dangerous industrial process is prohibited, and they're removing the prohibition by making this an allowable land use. So it doesn't give us the ability to regulate. It's removing the only kind of regulation we have, and that's to allow it or to not allow it. And in fact, they're even doing it in such a way as to make it there's two kinds of, if you read the zoning code, there's two different categories. One is called a P, a permitted land use, and one is an SP, which requires a special permit. They're going to make battery recycling centers a P, which means there's no special permit, which means if anybody else wants to come in here and put in another battery incinerator, they can do so without any change in zoning and without even approaching the planning board. So this is very, very dangerous what they're doing, very insidious.
stricter guidelines in place that any current and new company will have to follow, because we also have two companies already established in the village that are doing similar processes in part of their manufacturing. And what the village can do as a government, we can put processes in place and guidelines and safeguards in place to allow us to regulate these businesses closely. And this is what adding recycling to the industrial zone is going to do. As a village, we could do this to safeguard our village and our residents.
So if you lived across the street from the building on Roble Avenue, you'd have no problem with this?
Correct, which my mother-in-law does.
That's true. You have mentioned that before, so you have had conversations with her about this.
With my brother-in-law that lives there with her, yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So
And-
with the
and like you said-
conversations and with what you know, are they generally content then with it going forward?
Yes. Yes, they are.
What do you think will happen Monday night? Mayor Jackson mentioned the public hearing and then said after that there could be a vote on this, or it could be held over. Do you have a sense whether any member of the board is likely to hold this over Monday?
There's a possibility of that, yes. Unfortunately, we tried to have our other constituents and also our other board members educated. When we meet with these companies, we can't have the whole board meet with them, because then it would be considered a meeting and a public hearing, and that was too difficult to try to set up. So what we did was we had the meeting taped, and we made the tape available to all of the trustees to come in and listen to. They could come into the municipal building, go into the office by themselves and listen to the tape, but two of the trustees didn't bother to do that, so I don't feel that they were able to get a lot of their questions answered properly. And if they did, then they probably would have hopefully changed their mind like we did, because we went out and we searched to get the correct information and get our questions answered. We did our due diligence to protect the village and its residents.
So it seems one way or the other, whether the vote would happen at the Monday night meeting or at the next village board meeting, I get the sense that most likely this project will go forward, at least with respect to what the village board has to do, based on what I'm hearing from both you and Mayor Jackson. I had that sense that the board, one way or the other, is going to allow it to move forward at some point.
The only thing that we're doing on Monday night is just voting to add recycling to our industrial zone to give the village more control or put regulating safeguards in place so we can have more safeguards and regulations in place to protect the village and its residents. That's all we're voting on. We can't vote on whether this company is coming or not. We don't have that right to do that. This company is coming regardless of what we're doing. What we're doing is adding recycling to the industrial zone to give the village better protection and put in safeguards and stricter regulations that they will have to follow. As a government entity, we are allowed legally to do that, and that's what we're doing. Because this company is coming whether we do this vote or not.
Do you
Okay, I got a phone call there in a second. Somebody's going to be joining us, I think, in a second here, Jason. So, and anybody else that's watching, we're going to have Pat Dorner join us, and she has a very, very, very important update. It looks like we're going to be canceling our meeting tonight, but let's listen to what Cheryl Chapman says right here.
As a government entity, we are allowed legally to do that, and that's what we're doing. Because this company is coming whether we do this vote or not.
Once again, they keep repeating, there's nothing we can do, they're coming, there's nothing we can do, nothing we can do, nothing we can do. And that is absolutely a false statement. But we have some breaking news here. I'm hoping we get our caller coming. Let's play a little bit more of Cheryl Chapman, and then hopefully our caller will call in.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, is there any sort of liability though? I mean, are they afraid of a lawsuit or some sort of action like that coming against them if they actually stand against this? Because that's what I'm kind of wondering, whether or not that's why they're caving in a little bit. I mean, granted, cronyism and the money, maybe we're thinking there's something going on there, but I'm wondering whether there's some sort of liability where the village of the facility are actually going to sue for the rights to actually go to build.
Yeah, I would say that there's absolutely no basis for a lawsuit. But I think that your first inkling was probably more correct. That there's, so I talk about carrots and sticks. The carrot is there was some kind of an incentive. Who knows what it is? A bribe, maybe Rumble Pony tickets. Who knows what it is? But there was there some kind of a benefit that was dangled over them, or there was a stick, and there's millions of dollars of state funds that the Empire State Development Corporation brings into Endicott every single year. So there's a big incentive when the Empire State Development Corporation comes to a local village and says, "Hey, we want to put this nasty contaminating facility in your neighborhood, in your town." There's the town board is greatly motivated in order to go along with it, because every town is absolutely dependent upon that state cash that comes in. So they could have been threatened. That's the stick. The stick is the threatening. They could be threatened. We're going to yank all your state funding. You're not going to get any money for all of your little pet projects if you don't allow this. So
for example, the Washington Ave.
Hi, Marianne. Go. Just finish your thought, Jason.
The Washington Ave, they had the grant money, for that to redo all the different, storefronts and stuff that were put out. So you're saying that pretty much potentially that sort of grant would not come their way if they don't allow this facility to be put.
It's all speculation, but that's the best that we are coming up with. Okay, so we have Marianne on the line right now, and she has a very, very, very important announcement to make. So take it away, Marianne.
Hi. It appears that there is going to be a Zoom meeting with the planning board tonight, and they said that it's listed on the Village of Endicott website on how to join this Zoom meeting. So just wanted to let everybody know that. The meeting ID number, if people want to write this down, is 177-528-972. I will repeat that. 177 972, and the password 452493. I will repeat that, 452493. And the Zoom meeting is a link, so I'm probably suggesting that you should go on the Village of Endicott website to join this tonight at 6 p.m. Okay?
Okay, yeah, thank you
Phil,
so much.
for having me on.
Thank you so much, Marianne. I appreciate that very much.
Yep, take care.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, so that was Marianne. She was just letting us know that there is this planning board meeting that is going to be on tonight, and I'm just looking on Facebook right now, Village of Endicott. Hold on. This is crazy. I'm just going to try to, and that's going to be at 6 o'clock. So you know what? I think I want to wrap this thing up early, Jason. But before I go, I'm going to put the details of this once I find this Zoom meeting tonight. And by the way, this meeting was not properly noticed, according to open meetings law. This meeting was not publicly noticed, and I don't see any notice of this Zoom meeting anywhere. So Marianne, if you have, let me look at, Marianne sent me an email. Let me just see if she included the link. Ah, she did. Okay, so here's, here we go. I'm gonna post this into the chat so that people can see this very important update. And let's see. All right. Where's my chat window? Where is my chat window? Okay, there it is. So here we go. Bam. There is the... Oh, it's too much. There it is. So there is the link and the info, the meeting ID and the password for the Zoom meeting that's going to be tonight at 6 p.m. And unless, let's see, anybody that's watching right now, please hit the like button. And Jason, I think we're going to wrap it up. Did you have any final comments that you wanted to say before I sign off? And because I need to do some stuff before this planning board meeting tonight.
No, I mean, I just it's been good talk. I've learned a little bit about the situation that's happening here, so feeling pretty good now, having more knowledge with it. Again, it's just I think that one thing I have to say though is that you see more projects like this popping up all in New York State, and this is kind of the only thing that is actually happening. It's just where the money, from the state's coming down, they pop up all these little projects. They're not financially viable. They probably shouldn't exist, in a free market. They never would exist. And in this case, this is actually bad because there's actually an environmental hazard associated with it, and there's just a massive lack of logic, when you look at the big picture of what this is. And you have to scratch your head and go, if there's only 3 of these things in the entire planet, why the heck do we need one of these in Endicott? Especially with, all the, negative, potential, side effects from it. It just doesn't make any logical sense at all, unless people are getting some major kickbacks, from the government for this. I could see them pushing it. But for the population of Endicott, there's no benefit to it for the taxpayer. There's only... it's just negativity.
I agree with you so much. Thank you so much, Jason. By the way, how did you hear about this? Are you a subscriber on YouTube or?
You know what? I don't know. Quite frankly, somehow I must. That's the interesting thing. I did subscribe to you, but I have no idea why I did. There must have been somebody you had on or something. I'll have to look afterwards because I'm just kind of looking through my YouTube. And you happen to be live, and I just clicked on it, and all of a sudden you're talking about something I actually was listening to on the radio, and then that's how I just jumped into it. So
fabulous.
But yeah, it's topic, though.
Well, I appreciate you joining, and if you want to keep in touch, if you're on Facebook, join the Facebook group Concerned Citizens of Endicott on Facebook, and that's a great way to keep up to date. That's where I'm posting a lot of this information, and really appreciate you calling in and being part of the show today, Jason. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Keep in touch. Bye. Ooh, okay. Alrighty, that's the show. So we had an emergency notification. If you look in the chat, you're going to see the link to the Zoom planning board meeting tonight that was not properly noticed. Not properly noticed. So, but let's all join in. I'm signing off at 5 p.m. This meeting is going to be at 6 p.m. tonight. So maybe I'll see you on Zoom if I can figure it out. Okay, so we'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody. Oh, by the way, so let me just say this. I work in the public interest, and I survive on donations and grants. So if you appreciate the work that I do, please, any donations in any amount, use some of that stimulus cash. If you just got a check, any amount is very, very helpful. I don't make enough money to live on. I truly do live on donations. So tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Houston. And my snail mail is William Houston, P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York, 13761. Bye-bye.